All right, welcome back to the final episode of the regular season of the Goodman and Hummel podcast.
Maybe ever, though. Maybe ever. The way I was treated at the Final Four is not acceptable. I agree to come on the stupid night show at the Intersport party. All right, fine.
You did.
I eat my chicken tenders because they had some Raisin Cane's was catering the party. And I'm coming in to sit down, and all of a sudden I see Bob Huggins coming right towards me alongside you. And literally you're just like, get up.
You're out.
I don't want to be on this stupid show anyway. So I did, and eventually I did come on. That was the first strike. Second strike, there's a tweet that goes out from the Field of 68, and it thanks all the people for what a great year it was. Guess who was not included?
You know why? Because currently you are mired in deep contract negotiations right now, and until we know if you're coming back,
no, this is gonna be leveraged into a payday. I'm not coming back. I'm probably not gonna come back. I don't think I'm gonna come back.
How are the negotiations going with you and Doster?
They're non-existent. We're so far apart right now. We haven't even spoken.
What are you asking for, by the way? What's your big?
I don't know, like maybe 10,000 an episode, 10 G's an episode.
10,000 an episode. Jeez.
Yeah, that's the kind of pull I'm bringing to this show.
Unbelievable.
That's what I want to come back. Let Rob.
I've heard
1,000 an episode. I'll come back next year.
I've heard part of Doster's deal. The hang up in the deal is that you're just on the golf course too much in the off season that you go.
What does that matter? We don't even do podcasts in the summertime.
Only because you're always on the golf course.
I could easily do them at night. That's not an issue.
You're going today. We're working on your schedule. You're not going today.
No, I'm flying up to Minneapolis for some USA basketball stuff.
Oh, Coach Hummel.
That's right.
Who the hell is hiring you as a coach? That's what I want to know.
You know,
I tried to put your name in the ring for Valpo. You wouldn't go for it.
Only if I could form my staff of Scott and Bryce Drew, Homer Drew, and who else? Scott Martin. Who else was on my wish list?
Me as your ops guy.
You did not make the cut. You didn't make the cut.
All right, let's get down to it. First of all, we had some fun with the slam dunk contest, the Intersport slam dunk contest. It was a blast.
That's another thing we need to talk about.
No,
how terrible you are at judging. My goodness.
The guy was 6'3.5" who we jumped over.
This clown right here. We're judging, and first of all, every dunk, Jeff would be like, "What are you giving? What are you giving?" Because he wanted to be like me. I think he wanted to be in the ballpark because he's never dunked. So how could he know?
That's not true. I dunked when I was younger. I haven't dunked in a long time.
Yeah, and I got a hole in one when I was younger too. You know, those magical days. But the craziest thing that you did, was you gave the players in the first round 4s for not completing dunks.
I felt bad.
The lowest score you could give was a 1.
Yeah.
If you don't make it the dunk, how can you reward them with a 4? You were doing that. All right, fine. But in the second round, we had a player who missed 2 dunks and then went to dunk his last and final attempt.
Yeah.
But lost the ball and ended up laying it in. But at least it went in.
Correct.
And you gave him a 1.
He didn't even try to dunk. It wasn't even a dunk attempt.
But it went in.
It's a finger roll layup.
I know, but he lost it and then turned it over.
I don't care. You have to try to dunk it.
It's really intelligent that you would give a player a 4 for not scoring and a 1 for actually making it.
As they moved on rounds, I got tougher. I started lenient, and I got a little bit tougher as they advanced deeper.
I heard through the Intersport and ESPN grapevine, they were like, "We were really disappointed in Jeff. We were really."
I'm not going to be asked back.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be asked back. They were like, "We really thought he would give more, insight, better scores." But then they were like, "Well, he's never dunked, so how could?" I
needed a microphone. That's what I was missing. I was missing a microphone.
Yeah, that's always what you need.
All right, let's get to it. And yes, we did bounce you for Bob Huggins, and I would do it over and over and over again. All right. First of all, he's in the regular Hall of Fame, not the Purdue Hall of Fame, which I'm not even sure you're in yet. Are you in the Purdue Hall of Fame yet?
I am.
You are.
Yes.
All right. Well, this Hugs is going to have a real statue built outside of West
He
Virginia.
should. He needs one. They need
He
one.
was hilarious, by the way. I know you didn't hear him. You need to go back and watch.
I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised you guys could hear him.
He speaks so quiet.
He talks so quietly, and it was so loud in there.
I was next to him
without any headsets. I was thinking, A, I don't want to be on the show, but B, I was thinking, wow, I don't know how they're actually going to hear Coach Huggins because of the way that he speaks.
Yeah, he was. He's hilarious though. He is absolutely hilarious. I've always said like you got to get to know Hugs to really.
I think he's very different than what the common college basketball fan thinks. He is much different in person than I think most people understand.
And he's beloved by every coach. Like literally, you will never hear a bad word about Bob Huggins. And I actually think, back when you were playing and when I kind of got into this, he was kind of the black sheep almost of the coaching fraternity, right?
It had turned by the time I was, and when he was at West Virginia by the time I got to school.
Yeah,
and it had changed.
Yeah,
at Cincinnati for sure. That was
but again, everybody loves him. Got in the Hall of Fame. All right, let's get on to. I'm wearing the UConn sweatshirt
in honor of Doster. Way to go!
In honor of Doster, in honor of Dan Hurley, in honor of Sanogo and Clingan and all.
Let's go back to what you said before the NCAA tournament.
What did I say?
You said, will Danny Hurley be afraid of Rick Pitino in the first round?
I did.
And they proceeded to steamroll every team they played.
Then I said it about Randy Bennett. Then I said it about Musselman and Mark Few. I think I said it about everybody.
Danny Hurley will never come back on the show because you have just slandered his name.
He actually should, because honestly, I believe I saved his season.
No, you didn't.
I think I did.
How?
I'll tell you how. So I came out publicly after. Remember, he got into a little tiff with one of the officials, Jeffrey Anderson, and said some things about him that were captured on camera during a game, and I said publicly that Big East officials had enough of him, and I honestly, I'm not taking credit. I'm kidding about that, but what I am saying is I actually do think that incident and everything that followed it helped Dan Hurley, because I've talked to him about this forever. And I've known Dan, like we had him and Bobby on the show and they were friggin' phenomenal. And I feel like Danny needed that. He needed people to come out publicly and kind of challenge him and say, hey, you know what? You have a chance to do something special here this year. You need to just coach your guys. And he had written that on his wrist in Portland. Coach your guys. Showed it to me. And then he kind of got away from it for a while. And then again, another misstep with Jeffrey Anderson. And then I think he got much better. Now, again, listen, they were playing double-digit games every game in the NCAA tournament. So,
yeah, right.
But he was still on his better behavior.
I agree. I agree. And honestly, it's human nature to the refs too. If you are going to berate the officials and yell at them on every call, and much like players and coaches, they are going to make mistakes. That's a part of playing the sport and coaching the sport. But when you're constantly on those guys and there's a bang, 50-50 call.
Yeah.
This is not saying anything crazy or, over the top, but subconsciously, if you've been berated the whole time, it's 50-50 call. Are you going to go with the guy that's been berating you or the guy that's not?
Hell,
that's a part of this.
Human nature.
It definitely is. And I don't care what those guys say. They're trying to be objective, but when you take into account road and home environments and officials getting booed, I've always thought, look, that's why it's hard to win on the road. You have a crowd you're playing against, and I think also that affects the officiating at times. You get more calls at home. There's no doubt about that. Always has been. But I think it also goes in the sense of coaches, when you're just constantly on these dudes, eventually they're probably going to get fed up and you're not going to get a great whistle at times because of that. So it is good that and look, it's easier to do that when you're absolutely just killing people, which they were doing. But he was on his best behavior. I agree.
It was so funny. When I went up, I saw all 6 of their games in person. I was with him in Albany, with him in Vegas, with him in Houston. So in Albany, I hadn't talked to him since all this. Hadn't talked to him. Was going to go to a UConn game in February when I got back from Charleston, and just didn't work. I don't think I felt well. Or
you chickened out.
Yeah, I was going to. I didn't. So I saw him after one of his press conferences in Albany and started to go up to him, and he's like, basically like, no, no, I'm not talking to you. And the best part, he goes, you're the reason why we didn't get 3 weeks of calls. And I looked at him, I go, no, you're the reason you didn't get 3 weeks of calls. And we made up. We the beauty of that relationship is we've gone at it for years. But you know where you stand with Dan Hurley. I've compared him. Here's who I compare him to, Rob. A little bit like a Tom Izzo and a Bill Self in some ways, a younger version, because he's old school in so many ways. Learned from his dad, Bob, one of the greatest high school coaches ever. He's sarcastic as hell, like Izzo, like Self. He's going to coach him up. He's going to hold him accountable. But then you know what he's going to do? He's going to put his arm around him after killing him. After practice, after, whatever it is, he's got that relationship where he can do that and they're still going to respect him. They're going to run through a wall for him.
Right. Yeah. And that's half the battle of coaching, right? Getting your guys to play like that. And on top of that, they've got really talented players.
Yeah.
I mean, Tristan Newton was really good. I was really impressed with Jordan Hawkins in the game where he was sick. I thought on television, because we were up in this suite that was in the 400 level, doing this stuff for Bleacher Report, I thought he looked visibly ill on the floor.
Really?
Just the look on his face.
He's always kept the same look, though. He chews gum.
No, I know, but he looked like he looked like he could puke at any time. That's what
maybe he wasn't. Like. I'm surprised.
I mean, he had food poisoning or whatever, so it's not.
Yeah, the calamari.
Yeah, big fan of Andre Jackson. I just think the playmaking, the athleticism,
toughness,
the toughness, the toughness, the defensive ability is there. The way that he could play the 1, 2, 3, or even the 4 is big time. Sanogo's a beast. Yep. I mean, he had a great tournament, obviously, most outstanding player. Caravan made big plays in that Final Four game. Calcaterra's a real weapon off the bench, and then Donovan Clingan's your backup center.
They all fit. They fit. Yeah. That's what this team did, and through the portal is what you should do is you know what you got coming back, and then you build around it, right? You build around it, and that's what Hurley and his staff did an incredible job of this year. And where like Arkansas, for instance, put all this talent together for this team, but they didn't have enough shooting. You better have enough shooting, and that's where really the UConn staff addressed that weakness more than anything else and said, hey, we're going to go get Tristan Newton. We're going to go get Calcaterra. We're going to go get some guys that can make shots because, frankly, Sanogo's not a pick and pop guy. Now, he made 2 big threes in the Final Four, but that's not his game. His game is obviously down low on the block.
Yeah, but those were big shots just to get in the mind of San Diego State. Where you're like, oh, God, if this dude's going to make this. So I think an underrated aspect, though, of UConn's run here, and it's really not underrated when you look at it on paper, but their defense was amazing.
Yes.
Their defense was unbelievable. 59 against San Diego State, 59 against Miami. Gonzaga goes.
Clingan. Hey, Clingan is a beast in their defense.
Yeah, but he's an NBA player. Yeah, he could be an NBA player this year. I'm not saying that he will go, but I think if he did, he'd end up in that 20 to 35 range. I hit 4
NBA GMs after the title game. And pretty much everyone was the same, 25 to 40, somewhere in that range.
I mean, he moves well. He runs really well. He can stretch the floor and shoot it a little bit. He's a pro.
You guys ever get tired of trying to prove that you won an argument, that your takes weren't hot, they were right? Well, I have an answer to all of your problems. Vaulted is a new sports prediction app that turns your opinions into facts. You can store all of your predictions and hot takes in your vault now and forever. Challenge your friends, keep track of the results, and prove that you are, in fact, the smartest. Vaulted will also be releasing more than 50 pools during the NBA playoffs. So download the app at the link below for your 3-month trial, store your predictions now, and keep them forever. Today's episode is presented by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball's pick'em, where you get real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's games. In pick'em, all you do is pick whether a player will go higher or lower in Underdog's projected totals. That's points, rebounds, whatever. If you're like me and you think Marquise Noel is going to go absolutely nuts this weekend, pick higher on his points projection, throw in a couple of other picks, and if you hit them all, you can win 20 times your money on a single game. Underdog's slick mobile app is easy enough that dummies like Jeff Goodman have even figured it out. So go to underdogfantasy.com or download the app and use the code FIELD, FIELD, to get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Get in on the madness now.
The big question is, do Sanogo and Clingan both come back? Because I feel like if one comes back, the other is more likely to say, you know what, I'm gone. You know, do they split 40 again? Because you can't play them together.
No, right. But
Right.
It's
So
crazy. It's crazy that I get that you want an opportunity to play big minutes, but man, that you're on the team that just won the national title.
I know, but if you're Clingan, are you sitting there and getting 18? I mean, what do you average?
I don't know. How many minutes?
I'm going to look right now how many minutes he averaged for the year. And then what he got. I mean, luckily they were playing him in some blowouts, so you're actually able to get him more playing time. You ready for this? You're going to be surprised when you see how many minutes he played. How many minutes you think he averaged this year? Take a guess.
I'm going to guess 13.1.
Yeah, you're looking right at it, you asshole. 13.1 minutes. He played 10 in the championship game. He had foul trouble. He played 13 against Miami, 12 against Gonzaga. Do you really think 13 against Arkansas, 12 against St. Mary's? Do you think he's going to sign up if Sanogo comes back to play between 10 and 13 minutes again?
Probably not.
Right. That's all I'm saying is I would be shocked if both of them come back. I'd be shocked. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think there's a chance he could go to the NBA, honestly. You know,
Chance he can go to the NBA. There's a chance Sanogo leaves. You know, could he go NBA? I mean, could he even go portal and make a ton of money NIL somewhere else? Because Can you pay both those guys if you're UConn? Can you pay them enough? Because other schools are going to offer both. That's the reality. That's where we are.
The fact that we're saying that, we sound like we're talking about free agency.
I know.
I
know, but it's changed.
No, it has. It has. I saw a tweet yesterday about how players are leveraging NIL offers against their other schools that are recruiting them to try to get them to up their offers.
Yeah.
It's so wild.
I'm not even going to tell you how much money Kirk Reesa got to go to West Virginia.
A lot? Was it a lot?
A shitload.
God, I played in the wrong era.
A lot. You would have made, trying to think what you would have made right now. You probably could have made, probably like $500 to $1 million. What did you make? What's the most you ever made in the NBA?
$890.
All right. You might have made more.
Dang.
You might have made more money in college than you ever made in the NBA.
Yeah. No, that's crazy.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Do we think UConn could fall off significantly, or do you think they're going to get momentum now? And even if they lose, they're going to lose Hawkins, we know. Jackson said he's coming back. And I kind of love that if he does to improve his shot. But I always feel like, too, on one hand, it's great. On the other hand, where do you improve your perimeter shot the easiest in the league?
Yeah, and it's like you could also just prove that you can't shoot. At least there's still a question mark right now.
Yeah,
you know,
good point.
like that's you could prove that okay, he just is not going to be a shooter. No, I mean I think the fact that they're in the Big East and the Big East has so much momentum right now, as a league, and I think that UConn, we had this conversation a ton. Tyler Hansborough and I did with the Bleacher Report stuff of who are the blue bloods right now, and who are the blue bloods in college hoops, and UConn is. I don't care. I don't care if they missed the tournament. I think it was it 9 or they've missed the tournament a decent amount of times in the last 20 years.
Yeah, with Ollie.
Yeah, but they've won 5 national titles since 1999.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Who else has done that, Rob? Who else? Nobody.
No one. No, it was funny with Tyler because Tyler comes from North Carolina and he's got they're a blue blood clearly. And he's got that perspective, but he was very down on Kentucky and he was very down on UCLA because he was saying, well, Kentucky hasn't won a tournament game in 3 years, which
till this year. They won one this year.
Oh, well, yeah, they won one game. Sorry. Yeah. And then UCLA hasn't won it all since 95 or 6.
Yeah, 90. Yep.
So he was very down on those. We talked about Indiana and how they've missed the tournament in 11 of 20 years. They haven't won since 87. So it was just a very interesting conversation. But the point of this is when you talk about UConn and even Villanova in the last 10 years, they've performed like blue bloods. And I think UConn just is a blue blood at this point. I really do.
I do too. I mean, I think they have been before this, but they had fallen off so much recently after the, Shabazz Napier national title in 14. That they really hadn't done anything. I mean, they really the last.
But I think being in the American was difficult.
Killed them.
It did. It's like what we've seen from some of the teams in the ACC. Syracuse in the ACC has not been good. Pittsburgh until this year in the ACC has not been good. Those were really good programs before.
What I had to try to put together this early.
Why do you even do it? I guess I know why you do it, but there's
I've done it forever.
I know that people
gets clicks. Yeah, people.
Right. It's like there's no point.
It's so bad.
There's no point because the turnover of the free agency we're going to see,
right,
is just gonna.
It's like what if a team not in the top, team in the top 20-ish gets Hunter Dickinson? Obviously, they're going to move up significantly. Sure. I just think it's a conversation piece. It's something. Usually, I do it with the whole rosters.
I guess it is a baseline too.
It helps a little bit.
How far they came in a short amount of time.
Right, like Marquette. Marquette, we know what they have. Unless they lose stuff through the portal, they're going to be top 5 for everybody. If they're not, something's wrong. They bring back everybody from a team that won the regular season and tournament, Big East tournament. So you have to have them. UConn's iffy to me. Like, I got to see what they get if they.
No, I mean that's a big part of this. That's a huge. Any team right now is who knows. But I was looking at Illinois. I was reading about Illinois here today. The turnover that they have had the last couple of seasons and the guards that have transferred out of that program, it's pretty jarring.
Yeah,
it's pretty, and it's alarming. Jaden Epps is the one to me where I'm like,
why?
You have the keys to the offense for the next 3 seasons. You will be the starting point guard.
Unless he's been promised the starting point guard spot at Georgetown and he wants to be closer to home. That's all. Yeah,
right. And or if he just doesn't like playing in Illinois, or who knows?
Right. But, I mean, listen.
But usually it's like, are you playing? Are you?
I know, but sometimes
I don't know.
What if you don't love being in the Midwest? Then you're
that's fair.
I think sometimes we make judgments on people. You stayed regionally close to home, right? You didn't have a huge adjustment. Your family could come out, they could drive out and see you play. Well, you go, it's still a couple-hour flight. You're talking about maybe being homesick, maybe just feeling like I want my family to see. If I can go to Georgetown, now he's looking at Georgetown or NC State. Those are the two.
Where's Jaden Epps from? Is he DC or is he?
He's DC. Yeah, I think he's DMV, that area, somewhere around there. So, you can understand if he goes to Georgetown and is the starting point guard for Ed Cooley, okay, you know what? My family can see me play every game. I get it. And in this day and age, it's so commonplace to transfer that it's no big deal anymore. Back when you were playing, it was a little bit different. Obviously, you had to
sit out. You had to sit. I mean, it was a huge deal to transfer.
And there weren't as many kids doing it. There just weren't as many kids doing it. Now it's like, hey, shit, if you talk to coaches right now, and it's like, all right, if my guy's a 6th man, he wants to be a starter.
Look at Ish Massoud. Ish Massoud is a great example of that.
Yes.
And I will say I listened to Jerome Tank's comments about it, and I thought they were excellent.
What he said?
They had a very open dialogue. Masood told him what he wanted out of his role. It was to start or play 30 minutes a game or whatever. And Tang was honest and said, with who we have coming in and who we have, I don't know if I can promise you that. So he was like, we're helping him find his place. And then he said, I told him, if you go out there and you don't find what you like, we would want you back. It's not personal, but I am also going to have to look to fill your spot while you're in the portal. And I just think the communication he had with him was awesome. And I think that's how these coaches have to look at this, because it's not a personal thing. And I thought it was just cool the way that he kind of was, doing things.
No, I think that is great. And I think, again, you got kids now, some kids throwing their name in the portal just to see what they can get NIL was.
Yeah.
And, again, just, be careful, I would say, to any kid, and you can speak to this better than I can, but be careful going somewhere just for the NIL, because you may get the money, but you may not get the same role that you might get for less.
And it's not just the role, but I also look at the connections and the connection to the university. It can be a bit short-sighted. Now, if someone's offering you, Nigel Pack, it's $800,000 a car. Okay, that's a lot of money.
Sure.
That's certainly worth what it's worth. But, I played at Purdue. I graduated from Purdue. I got to meet so many successful, unbelievable people who are in the business world and have these crazy connections to both Purdue basketball and the Purdue Business School and Purdue University. And I think that is worth a lot over the course of your life as well. And when you go back to a place and they love you because you played there and you finished there and you were a part of building something that those people care about so much in their university, that is worth something too. And when you're a one-year mercenary multiple times over, unless you're, like a Joey Calcaterra this year, he went to UConn and he played on a team that will be remembered forever. That's worth something. That is. But if you go to a team and let's say you go to, I don't even want to say a school because it's not, I'm not trying to blast it. School X. And School X goes to the NCAA tournament and loses in the first round. It's just whatever. Did you really, unless you had an All-American type season, did you really make an imprint there where the people got to know you and you can go back there and they'll love you the way that they love 4-year and 5-year players?
Well, Hunter Dickinson is probably a good example to use on this because Michigan's brand is so strong.
Totally.
Right? Everything about Michigan and the connections. Listen, as good as they were at Purdue, take it a step higher for Michigan.
Yeah,
right?
agree.
I mean, all around the country, business world, whatever it is. And now, Hunter, now he's going to make a lot of money in NIL, maybe significantly more than he would have made staying at Michigan. But you got to balance. Is it worth it? Because now my Michigan connections might be lost forever.
Yeah, they could. And there will maybe some that don't hold this against him, but there will be some people there that'll be like, well, he's not a Michigan, he's not a Michigan Wolverine to me.
A Michigan man, man, they call it.
Yeah.
He's no longer a Michigan man.
Yeah.
Speaking of Michigan, man, they got a lot of work to do now. A lot of work. Losing Buffkin, Dickinson, Jett Howard. If I'm Juwan, I'm calling every NBA team that has an opening right now.
I don't think he's going to do that. It's where he went to school. He has that connection there.
All right,
but I understand they've got to hit the portal really hard. Do you think Caleb Love is in play
Missouri.
there?
I think he goes to Missouri. That's where he's from. He's from Missouri.
He's St. Louis, right?
I think again, who knows with NIL? I think he goes to Missouri. And listen, whoever gets him, it's going to be interesting to see. I've talked to Baycott about him, and he feels like his next spot, Caleb's got a chance to be a really good player, and it might help him.
He's talented. I just think that you got to
coach him,
rein in some of the poor shot selection, right?
Right, coach him up. You better have a lot around him. Although Carolina had enough around him, they just didn't have shooting. Like that was the biggest thing this year is they didn't. I don't know. I mean, to me, I would have used a Seth Trimble more and been able to sit Caleb Love and said, hey, listen, if You're not playing the way we want. We're losing anyway. We're losing with you. We might as well lose without you and basically try to teach him a little bit of a lesson.
But again, this is a player who had an iconic run.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. He literally was making crazy shots from the Duke game at the end of the regular season through the national championship game where he was balling.
Yeah.
And those were the shots that took those guys there. And I mean, his legacy, same as Hunter, is going to be fascinating. I mean, he literally was on a team that beat Coach K in his last home game, knocked Coach K out of his last NCAA tournament, played unbelievable in between those games, and now is transferring to play his last season somewhere else. That is because he would be up there in Carolina lore with the best of them. You know, with that
especially if they won it all. If they won it all, yeah,
totally. But now it's gonna be very strange.
You wonder if he should have just left after last year
and just gone out on that note.
Yeah, probably. But I give him credit.
But I give him credit for wanting to come back and win the national title. I don't fault him for that. I think that's actually, I admire it a little bit because a lot of kids would be like, "Screw it, I'm done." You know.
What stood out to you most about the NCAA tournament? Was there anything else other than UConn's, historic run in some senses because they just beat the shit out of everybody and they really didn't play anybody close? Like I don't remember the closest I remember anybody getting was really San Diego State within 5, and then Jordan Hawkins hit that 3 right away to squash it anyway. Was there anything else that you will take, or what will you take from this NCAA tournament? For me, it was all those 1s, 2s, and 3s losing and not making
Arizona losing to Princeton, Purdue losing to Farley Dickinson. I'll always remember, I think, Marquise Noel's performance against Michigan State. I think that's certainly a main takeaway. 19 assists, 20 points.
Are you one of those now that thinks that this is going to happen again and again?
I think with the COVID stuff, that's made it much more possible. And I think when that ends, it will go back to more of kind of what we saw before. Yeah, I do think these mid-majors it's going to be really challenging to keep your players.
We've seen it already. I mean, listen, Max Asmus, now there was a coaching change with Max Asmus. His coach goes to Wichita State, so it's a little bit easier for him to leave. But yeah, I mean, again, I hear it from these coaches now at the low major, mid-major level. If you got anybody really good, you better have damn good NIL. And even if you do, it might be good for your level, but it's not good comparatively speaking to what.
Right. Well, and the mids and the highs have something that the lows can't offer. The fact that they're the mids and the highs.
Correct.
You want to be playing on ESPN and CBS and NBC and Fox. That's where you want to be playing. You
can't blame them.
No, I don't. I mean, it's just the sad thing is it's going to become like the breeding ground for transfers at the higher level. If you're low major, it's to the mids. If you're the mids, it's to the highs. And the crazy thing is, look at the D2 kid. The D2 kid on the team that won it all, and he's being recruited by like everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, a lot of teams have had success with non-D1 transfers. You saw it with Charleston, especially this year. They had a few, and look at what Pat Kelsey was able to do with that team, get him into the NCAA tournament. So I think, we're in kind of a copycat world a little bit, and you wonder if that also goes to what UConn did with their bigs. If you have we've hammered the fact that bigs can't win in the tournament. They did it with 2 very different bigs, right? They didn't have one plot, and Clingan's not nearly as plotting as a lot of guys his size.
No, Clingan runs well,
really well
for his size. That's he's not plotting at all,
right?
And Sanogo at least has the ability to step out, and he's not parked on the block all the time. He does post a lot. I think that certainly helps them spread the floor. And then I honestly give a lot of credit to Danny Hurley. They run really good stuff. Yeah. They run great stuff for Hawkins. They run great sets. They really do.
So Alabama this year had 4 of its top 8 were freshmen. Okay. They had a hell of a regular season, but obviously in the NCAA tournament, we know what happened. Kentucky brings in a class next year with 5 guys ranked in the top 30. Some have tried to say it's the greatest class ever assembled, which is a joke because this class isn't that good.
Is it better than like Ohio State 2005?
No, hell no, because there's no Greg Oden. There's no Greg Oden
or Mike
and
Conley.
Daquan Cook was a stud. Like, I'll put Daquan Cook, honestly, at the same time up there with DJ Wagner. Greg Oden would destroy Aaron Bradshaw. Destroy him. You know, Justin Edwards is a really good player. So they have Justin Edwards, DJ Wagner, Aaron Bradshaw, Robert Dillingham, and Reed Sheppard. So 5 dudes in the top 30 coming in. How much of a chance do you give? Oscar Tshiebwe may come back. Like, there's a good chance he comes back for one more year because, again, he's smart enough to understand I can make way more money. Here are my options. I can go pro, and I'm probably playing in the G League or overseas, or I can make millions of dollars coming back to Kentucky for another. This is an easy one.
He should come back. Yeah,
of course he should.
How do you compare this recruiting class to 2011 Kentucky? Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Marcus Teague, Kyle Wiltshire.
I liked how that team fit better. How's that? I liked how they fit. Here's my biggest question mark with Kentucky. Now, again, it'll depend on what they have coming back. Antonio Reeves, I think, declared for the draft. I don't know where he's going, but ultimately you need shooting. And Justin Edwards can shoot. He's a talented scoring wing. Wagner and Dillingham are both ball-dominant guards who don't shoot a great percentage, or at least didn't when I saw them. People have said Dillingham's a better shooter than he showed at the Peach Jam. He didn't shoot it well. Wagner, I've seen a lot. He's a volume scorer, is what he really is. Bradshaw is a terrific talent. Like could be a hell of an NBA player. Long, thin, block shots, can step out a little bit. And Reed Sheppard, I just don't know how he gets on the floor that much as a freshman.
Well, how do you compare them
about shooting and experience? Well, what do you need more than anything else to win a title?
I mean, I think both of those things, but
correct. You need them both. You need them both.
How do you compare the 2010 Kentucky then? Ennis Cantor, Brandon Knight, Terrence Jones, Deron Lamb, Stacey Poole.
Yeah, this is probably as good as that. And Cantor didn't play, remember. He wasn't clear.
Cantor sat. That's right. He's practiced.
Listen, I'm not saying this isn't a hell of a talented class. It is. My biggest thing is, where's the perimeter shooting coming from? If you bring back Reeves, okay. Then you got your perimeter shooter, and he's older and proven. If you can add, 5 veterans, good veterans, to this group, but then you add 5, you're not playing 10 dudes.
No,
agreed. Reed Sheppard's probably gonna have to wait his turn.
Yeah,
that'd be my guess. Although he could shoot it and he can pass it.
I can't believe how many Kentucky classes are. I just Googled quickly. These
insane.
09, John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Daniel Orton, Eric Bledsoe, John Hood.
That was his first one. Remember, he brought Wall and Cousins. They were committed to Memphis. He added Bledsoe, who was a point guard, and instead made him a 2 guard, and he shot the hell out of it his 1 year.
Yeah.
So, no. What Cal's done is incredible, but I think ultimately the blueprint is not there to win with a freshman-dominated team. So I have him just out of the top 10 right now until, they show me.
Their issues offensively still really concern me with some of the stuff that they run.
Yes.
Some of that stuff is not good.
As we talked about, the Christmas present for John Calipari should be go hire John Beilein in the summer for like 2 months and let Beilein implement your offense. Or at least, even if he's not your coordinator, let him just, like coaches go to certain places in the offseason to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, Cal, go visit Beilein. Go visit Beilein for a while, and that way you can make your offense look like it's not from the 1980s anymore.
It's rough.
It is rough. It's a rough watch. It's a rough watch. All right, I'm gonna let you go. I know you have to get to your contract negotiations here. I think
we got one more thing. We gotta view our team.
The teams. Yes, the teams. We picked our teams at the beginning of the year. We're going to run through this for 5 minutes here and go through our teams and see where we hit and where we missed. We did this in October, before the season started. We drafted, and I think the one thing was, tell me if I'm wrong, we needed a mid-major player.
Yep, mid-major.
Was there any other qualifications?
I think that was it. Just one mid-major guy.
All right, we're going to run down in order. Is this in order how we did it? So I started.
I think it is. I believe it is.
All right, so I started with taking Marcus Sasser number 1, and I don't regret that.
No, that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
You went with
I took Kendrick Davis at 1 because I needed a point guard, and I didn't. Really, I think that was kind of an overreaction. You could have went a couple different ways from some experienced guys.
That was fine.
But Kendrick Davis had a good year, and then I went Nick Smith at 2, which
he was hurt.
He was hurt. I saw him in Des Moines, and he really lacked burst, which might be because he was injured.
I think it was.
He did not get by anybody. He could not get by anybody.
I think he was playing tentative because of the knee.
Yeah. All right, so that was my first 2. I don't think that there's shame in any of those 2 because if Nick Smith's healthy, I would have felt good about that. But
you were fine. Then my next 2 were Jaime Jaquez. I'll take that all day long.
Yep.
And Oscar Sheboy. Fine. Got no problem with those picks.
Yep, those are good. I went Adam Flagler and Jalen Wilson with my next 2.
Love them.
I think those are both good. Wilson had a great year. Flagler was really good too. So
my next ones I'd like to have back. RJ Davis had a rough year. Was not nearly as good as I thought he'd be, but I think there was obviously some chemistry issues there that affected him and his teammates. And Keontae George just was up and down. Wasn't as good. But like Nick Smith, I mean, listen, there weren't many freshmen that you could rely on this year. My next pick was one of them, but you go ahead. Your next 2 were good. I thought pretty good.
Yeah, Drew Timme, obviously All-American, great pick. And then Derek Lively was a high upside pick. Early on in the year, I think I would have said didn't love the pick, but he did start to play better at the end. And he's different than he's athletic as can be. So solid pick
there. No issues. With my 6 overall pick, I got a guy that you could have picked like number 1 or 2 in Brandon. Like that, agreed. I hit it with that one. I love Brandon Miller from the first time I saw him at Peach Jam, and that was a great pick. Kevin McCullough, just a glue guy. I don't regret it. I could have taken him a little bit later, but I like McCullough because he can guard. He does a little bit of everything, so I'm fine with that pick.
Yeah, my next 2, one is great and one is a major bust.
Yes.
Isaiah Wong, ACC Player of the Year, great pick. Yep. Great value there in the middle rounds.
Yep.
And I went Pete Nance, and that that's a tough one. Shot
30%
from 3. That's the first one where you're like, oh boy.
I think that's the first pick and either of us have made that you're just like bust though.
Yeah, right.
Like you really missed on that one. All the other ones you can make a case for, some better than others. All right, I like my next 2. Ryan Kalkbrenner. He was awesome when he was healthy. Awesome.
Yeah.
And Terrence Shannon, who was up and down, but I still feel like if you had given Terrence Shannon a real point guard.
Yeah, he was still all Big Ten. I mean, he's first and second team.
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah. All right. Your next 2 are interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Cam Whitmore, I don't regret picking him because the hype was so real, but the hand injury was tough. He was hurt early. What did he actually? I don't think I really saw Villanova much of it.
He was good when he played. He was good. He'll be a lottery pick for sure.
Yeah. And then I went Caleb Love.
I think your problem, all of our problems, think about this so far.
We depended on UNC way too much.
I took RJ, you took Nance and Caleb, and instead of taking the one guy, Baycott, that you could rely on at least, we took 3 guys that honestly we shouldn't have taken.
I had drank the Kool-Aid. I'd watched Pete Nance shoot 45% from 3 at Northwestern Air Force. So I'm like, with these guys, he's going to do the same thing. Why would he not?
Didn't work out. He did not. All right, my next 2 were Mike Miles and LJ Cryer. Miles was awesome when he was healthy. Cryer was solid. He's now since in the portal, but shoots the shit out of the ball. So those were those were good. Those were good for me.
My next 2.
I mean,
Derek Whitehead, talented, injured.
Yep. You took 3 freshmen. Hey,
I know.
Next year, actually 4. How about this? Nick Smith, Listen to this. Nick Smith, Lively was hurt. Whitmore was hurt. Whitehead was hurt. All 4 of them. You are the reason. You're the problem.
Next year, I'm going straight veterans. No freshmen on my
I'm going to remind you before we start.
Please. So Derek Whitehead and I took Hunter Dickinson, which, God, he gave us the ski mask game.
Yeah.
He gave us, some really good performances. He gave us some not so good performances, but he is talented.
Yeah.
And
he gave us some bad podcasts.
I won't even go there.
All right.
Your war rages on. That's all I'll say about that.
I just listen. All I'll say, and I'll say it again, is when you're doing a podcast with a college kid, your job is to protect that college.
Yeah,
kid.
and like him saying we're going to win by 30 and getting 30 piece. That
doesn't help him.
No.
Doesn't help him. That's my deal. My deal has always been, and you know this when I was covering you. What was I all about? Protecting you.
Yeah,
right?
And helping the players recover. Agree.
Correct. So my last 2 were a little iffy. All right, this is where I actually like my entire team for the most part. RJ Davis and Keontae George, you might have said like, I'd like to have those over. I finished with Amari Bailey, who was terrific down the stretch, Rob.
Yeah,
terrific.
he was.
And Jamarian Sharp from Western Kentucky. That was my mid-major pick, and I would have loved to have had that one over.
Yeah, my last one was Max Asmus, which was a good pick.
Great pick.
Yeah.
I actually think we did pretty well. What we learned is stay away from Carolina players, and for you to stay away from freshmen.
Avoid the freshman, and Zach Edey is the major snub. So is Trace Jackson Davis.
Yes,
Edey and Trace Jackson Davis are the 2 guys.
We decided early we weren't going to load up on the bigs.
Agreed.
We weren't going to load up.
Baycott, Trace Jackson Davis,
Edey.
Zach Edey not selected, but if you take, I can't believe I drafted Lively so freaking high.
Well, you took him because he was different.
I took him because he was different from Timmy. Yeah,
right. Right. You said I got Timmy. I'm not going. And same thing with me with Oscar. I took Oscar over all those guys, and then said I'm not taking another big.
Well,
like
that's why
that.
you took Kalkbrenner.
Correct. I need a guy who can guard.
Yep.
So
well, I think your team is better.
Well, we know that. We know that. It always is.
No, it's not. Next year, no freshmen. No until
right, you say that now.
Until I drink the Kool-Aid again.
You say it now. We'll see. All right. Signing off for the regular season. Hummel says he will, if we can get the contract done, he will do some off-season pods. So stay tuned.
Tell that to Doster.
We're going to have some updates, periodic updates over the next few weeks of how the contract negotiations are going. So make sure you follow us. You follow Field of 68 because we may even need to do a one of the what's it called where you raise money?
Crowdfund.
Yeah, we may need to do one of those to raise money.
No, Doster's out here just raking in the cash. He can afford it.
He's out in Vegas.
Crowdfund.
I know. He was out in Vegas just dropping.
I'm like, the budget in Vegas looked like it was just absurd. You guys are at these casinos acting like dipshits at the pool all the time. And I'm just saying I make pennies on the dollar for this podcast. So I'm
going to go to bat for you. I
might not be back. I
might need a new agent.
I might never come back.
If you need a new agent, let me know.
All right, I'll keep you posted.
All right, listen. Thanks to everybody following us the whole season. We really appreciate it. I know I have a blast doing it with you, Rob. I hope you do as well. We've known each other a long time, and again, what you've done, making the transition from playing to doing the media thing, I think everybody would agree. You're terrific at what you do because, again, I think the one thing that you have that not a lot of people have, well, number one, the work ethic. I do think, as much as I make fun of you for golfing in the off season, which you do well and a lot, you work your ass off in the regular season, and you tell it the way it is without offending people. And that's a gift. That's a gift. Keep doing what you're doing. Again, we appreciate everybody, and we'll see you soon.